Welcome back to the Lunchtime podcast. We've had an absolutely unbelievable group stage of the Euros, and I'm blessed to be joined with Mr. Lunchtime yet again. Hello, Mr. Lunchy.
Oh, Big C, how's your things?
Very well. I don't have my camera on today because of a back injury. I'm bedbound, but that won't stop us here from. I think today we'll do a little bit of analysis on the group stage, but I think most soccer fans have seen all the games and they've heard every angle so far. So the main thing we're going to focus on today is looking through the last 16 draw, and we'll try to identify the best bets, and then I think we'll finish off with a little bit of where Lunchy was right, where Lunchy was wrong, where Biggie was right, where Biggie was wrong, just to give a bit of balance and show how terribly wrong I was with my prediction that Turkey would do well. Okay, Mr. Lunchtime, as it is Friday, tomorrow is the first game of the last 16, and we're looking at Wales and Denmark. How have you, this is in the Johan Cruyff Arena in Amsterdam.
It is.
So far, how do you think the teams have gone? Give us a bit of a breakdown.
Starting with Wales, I think they'll be very happy to have come out of that group with 4 points and secured second place behind the all-conquering Italians. They acquitted themselves quite well. Now, I missed the first game where they played Switzerland. I know you watched that, and they were played off the park, but they still got a result. They then went and beat Turkey 2-0, and in all reality, it could have been 5 or 6. They were very, very good on the night. They're kind of like the last Euros. They're kind of gone under the radar a little bit. They're always written off. They haven't been favourites in any game they've played. But they've acquitted themselves well. They've done their country proud. And they'll be happy enough to be playing Denmark. Now, it is a step up for them, not on Italy, but it is another step up on Turkey and possibly Switzerland. But they'll be happy enough to be playing Denmark and to be on the right side of the draw, which is very important. They'll be in good form heading into this game. They'll fancy their chances. I don't know what you think about them.
Certainly, they'll be massively happy with what has gone on so far. The Ryan Giggs incident pre-tournament and switching to Rob Page, who doesn't really have any experience at this level. The first game against Switzerland, they looked truly awful. But saying that, they Walesed up at Wales. Wales play a sort of similar brand to Ireland, where they rely on converting a small number of chances on top of defensive stability. And Switzerland couldn't break them down. Haris Seferovic missed 3 or 4 gilt-edged opportunities, and then Kiefer Moore punished them. They had 2 chances in the game. Both were Kiefer Moore headers. If you have a 6'5" beast of a striker who's a brilliant aerial presence, that's it's always going to be a feather in your cap. And he was pretty good. He was brilliant with both his chances. One of them forced a really, really good save from Sommer in the first half, and the second one was a bullet header to earn them the draw. But Switzerland would be kicking themselves in that one. They were by far the better team. But overall for Wales, massively, massively positive. Denmark so far, Mr. Lunchtime?
Yeah, obviously the Christian Eriksen nearly dying on the pitch has had a massive effect on them. Like that game against Finland should never have gone ahead. That's not for us to decide, I suppose. Since then, they've been impressive. They were very, very good in the first half, especially against Belgium, where they played them off the pitch and were unlucky not to go in. They went in 1-0 up. They were very unlucky not to go in 2 or even 3-0 up at halftime, the amount of chances they created. Pre-tournament, they were similar to Wales. They were built on defensive stability, and they had Christian Eriksen, obviously, to create the chances for them. He's the star of their team. But they kind of had to reevaluate, and they've done that well. They've gone way more attacking, and they're playing a new lease of life. They seem to be a team that have just said, we're going to go for it. We've nothing to lose here. I think they're everybody's second team now, if not favourite team in the tournament, and everybody's going to be shouting for them, obviously, bar Wales at the weekend. But yeah, they've been very impressive now. Against Russia the last night, the game took a random course. Obviously, once they got ahead, Russia had to score to try and get one of the best placed third place teams, and it opened it up a lot, and they took advantage of that, and they went on a scoring fest, which is very unlike Denmark. But yeah, they've been impressive in the last 2 games in particular. Now, they were very good against Finland in that first half prior to the incident. They just couldn't take. They had numerous chances, even in the second half. They missed a penalty, and like just nothing fell for them on the night. Schmeichel let in a goal he would never let in. So yeah, I've been impressed with them. Like I do think they'll win this game. I think it'll be tight, but I've been wrong on Wales pre-tournament, and I'm very reluctant to write them off completely. But I fancy Denmark to win the game. I don't know, what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, Denmark are 9 to 10. They're drifting closer and closer towards even money. If it gets to the even money, actually no, I'm not going to call Denmark in this one simply because Denmark are the Lunchtime. I wrote the article on them 4 weeks ago when they were 35 to 1 as the dark horse. They're still my dark horse for sure. We're not changing horses mid race here at Lunchtime. They've been pretty much what I thought they'd be. The Finland game I thought was Ericsson, like after the Ericsson incident, UEFA got in touch with them. This is according to Peter Schmeichel in an article I read yesterday. UEFA got in touch with them and said they could give a 3-0 walkover or else they could play the second half. And then UEFA came out just before the game came on and they said, oh, Denmark have got in touch with us and said they wanted to play the second half. Now, Peter Schmeichel, Kasper's dad, would probably have the inside track, and there's no way he'd fabricate something like that. So if that is the case, it's despicable by UEFA to force, after a man almost died on the pitch, they forced them basically to play the game, or a 3-0 loss, and they would have been basically out of the tournament in minute one. But Denmark, the team themselves, I'm going to take this as one of my rights, Mr. Lunchy. I think Mailer has been class. Their midfield is combative with Højbjerg and Delaney. They lack quality up front. Poulsen, Damsgaard has been a nice little find in the absence of Eriksson. But they lack quality up front and they will struggle to beat the better teams. There's loads and loads of enthusiasm and loads and loads of drive from a really tight-knit squad. But that lack of quality counted against Belgium and will probably count against them later on. I think they'll get through this Wales team, but I've been wrong about Wales in every single game so far. So we'll leave this one off. Next up, Italy, Mr. Lunchtime, the Lunchtime pick. How are they going?
They've been very impressive. It's hard not to be taken by them. Their style of play, just everything about them. The group just seems so together, tight knit. Subs, they're celebrating when they score. Their defending has been unbelievable. Not that they're defensive. You see them celebrating when they keep a clean sheet or make a block or a save. The goalkeeper looks so assured inside the goals. He's just so calm. Just everything about them going forward, they're just brilliant to watch with Insigne, Immobile and Berardi up front, three up front, the two wing backs just constantly attacking. They overload down both wings with the midfielders getting involved as well, whether it's Locatelli or Bareza or Verratti was back the last day. Jorginho will sit. They're amazing to watch. They're playing Austria on Sunday. I think
Saturday. Sorry, Mr. Lunchtime. The Saturday evening game, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it's Saturday. Sorry, yeah, and I just think they'll have too much for them. They, like Austria, were impressive the last day against Ukraine, who I would admit I was wrong on. I did predict Ukraine would make the quarterfinals. We'll get back to that later, but I wouldn't be keen on them now. I thought they were very, very poor against Austria. Austria. Yeah, they won't. I won't say they fancy their chances. They'll try and keep it tight, but I just can't see how they're going to hold out this Italian side. Italy won their last 11 games to 0. Like, you couldn't back against them conceding. They've been the best team in the tournament so far. But one word of caution is we've seen teams before in tournaments blitz through group stages and go out in the last 16 in extra time or penalties to a team who just defends well for 90 minutes, and it can happen. It's tournament football. Like, anything can happen on a given day, and the longer Austria frustrate them, the more chance they'll have, obviously, but that goes without saying. But you understand what I'm saying. If they keep it tight, it gets to 70, 80 minutes, the Italians will be like that danger of a counter-attack. Austrian goal will always be in the back of their minds, and yeah, I imagine Austria will try and play to go the distance. But yeah, that's the way I'd be looking at this game. I think Italy will win. But yeah, that's about it, really.
Austria certainly have the quality. I think Schlager, the Wolfsburger midfielder, Wolfsburg midfielder has been unbelievable for them. Like in Sabitzer, Arnautovic, and the young Baumgartner, the Hoffenheim sort of utility forward, they've been brilliant together. Grilic is good. Alaba playing in wing back the last day against Ukraine was much better. They have a big problem in that Hinteregger, who's their mainstay at centre half, the Frankfurt centre half, could be injured for this game. That would hurt. For this, just to quickly go on, Italy, I know we spoke about them before, the lunchtime pick for the tournament, 12-1 beforehand. When Mancini took over, he brought in his 4 best friends who all have coaching experience from Sampdoria when they won the Italian league in 96. All his buddies are all the backroom team, so they're a very close-knit family. Gianluca Vialli is one of them. You remember a player coach for Chelsea before. But they're extremely tight-knit group. You mentioned Donnarumma there. He's been the Italian keeper almost exclusively for the last 5 years. He's never conceded more than 1 goal in a game. He's now 22. He started when he was 17. What I love about Italy is their depth of squad. Mancini played 63 players in the last 3 years, and he whittled it down to his best group. And it looks like his best group. The last day they dropped Jorginho and Locatelli, absolutely fine. Brought in Pessina, he scored. Brought in Verratti, man of the match. I think they'll go Verratti, Jorginho, and either Barella or Locatelli in the semi-final. Their forwards, Insigne, Berardi, and Immobile have been unbelievable. I love the way, like an Italian front row in rugby, they bring on the 3 Chiesa, Bernardeschi, the 2 Juve wingers, and Belotti after about 60 or 70 minutes. So a back line has 3 equally talented forwards to deal with. Italy look absolutely brilliant. I think one of my bets, Mr. Lunchtime, Italy in over 1.5 goals, even money against Austria. Italy to win over 1.5 goals. We'll flick on to the next game if you're happy to.
Yeah. So we're on to Sunday now, are we?
Yeah. The Netherlands against Czech Republic.
Yeah. One I was certainly where Lunchy was wrong was the Netherlands. I had completely wrote them off due to their coach pre-tournament, but I have to say I've been very, very impressed with them. Now it might turn out that the group wasn't that strong. We'll see. We'll get a better idea of that when Austria play Italy. But they have done everything that has been asked of them. They've passed every single test. They're just, they seem to be playing with a great confidence. The 2 lads in midfield, Frankie de Jong and Gini Wijnaldum, have been outstanding throughout the tournament. Their wing-backs attacking, especially Dumfries, I think everybody's been taken by him at right back. He should have scored a hat-trick in the first game against Ukraine. They're very strong at the back with Delit and Daley Blind in particular. And yeah, I really like them. I like their style. They've impressed me. I didn't think they would be as good as they were. They come up against the Czech side, who have done well to come out, finish second in a group with Italy, or with England and Croatia and Scotland. Tough group, having 2 away games in Hampden Park and Wembley. They played quite well during the week when they played England. They created a good few chances, failing to take any. But their keeper and their left back are suspended for this game, and I think that'll spell danger for them. The bet I like in this game is Netherlands to win and both teams to score. I think the Czech will create enough chances to score. But I think going forward, the Netherlands will have too much for them. Memphis has been very good throughout the tournament as well up front. The big man from Wolfsburg has been good. Malin has been good. They have a well-balanced team, and they were in a bit of turmoil pre-tournament. But yeah, they've done well, and they're on the good side of the draw, and I think they're kind of becoming a sort of team that you could see coming through that side, in my opinion, to possibly reach a final. I'll let you take it away there. What do you think?
I was certainly wrong in the Netherlands as well, just because of De Boer being basically inept. But as you mentioned to me earlier in the week, De Jong got injured, which made him play Weghorst, and then the team sort of they look a bit nicer. Frankie de Jong carrying the ball through the lines, as all the modern football dorks would say, has been a real, it's been a real feather in their cap, where he can pick it up kind of in the centre-back area and carry it and draw players. Dumfries is a freak. He is just an incredible engine. I can't imagine he'll go through this summer without getting a big move, possibly to the Premier League. And Yeah, I like their balance. Like Delit, Blind, and De Vrij, if they play three at the back, it's quite good. Um, Again, they're on the lovely side of the draw. Czech Republic, I haven't been as impressed with as you were. Pavlenka in goals, the Wolfsburg are the Werder Bremen keeper getting injured is a big one, and Borrell, who's been really combative and really solid, being injured. I'm with you. I disagree with your bet. I don't think Czech Republic will score. I'm going Netherlands over 1.5 goals, 21-20. Let's go on to Belgium, Portugal.
Arguably the tie of the round, I would say, alongside the English and Germany game. But these are two teams that a lot of people will have fancied to win the tournament, and one of them are going to be gone at the last 16 stage. And whoever wins, it doesn't get much easier because the winner will play Italy in the last 8 on the horrible side of the draw. But I just find this game is very hard to call. Belgium have been
I
impressive.
think it's a benefit to Portugal playing in Seville. It's very close. Like.
Possibly, but it's the flip side of that is they've had 3 tough matches, and Belgium have had an extra few days rest as well before this game, which could come into, especially if this game goes a distance, which is quite possible. Belgium have been impressive. Now, they didn't face much in Finland and Russia in particular, but they rode out the storm against Denmark. The one worry I would have for them is in the first half against Denmark, they were completely blown off the pitch. And now they got in at 1-0 down, which is the sign of a good team. But when you come up against better attacking players, should we say, like Portugal have better attacking players than Denmark. And if Portugal created the chances that Denmark created, that game would be over at halftime. So that would be a worry for me for Belgium. I find this game very hard to call. I think Portugal have stumbled upon their best team throughout the tournament. I think what happened against Germany last Saturday was a blessing in disguise. Like they played 2 wing-backs, as you were saying to me earlier in the week. You can't play 2 wing-backs with 2 centre-halves. You have to have a third guy back there to cover for them. And they've moved during the week there when they played France, they moved Danilo as a third from centre midfield back to as a third centre-half. And it just gives the team way more balance. They brought in João Moutinho, they took out Bruno Fernandes. Now, obviously, Bruno is a good player going forward, but does he give you that stability going back when he's in the middle of the pitch? I don't know. I think he gets overran. It is a worry for them that Bruno is not in form, and also that Bernardo Silva has not played well in the tournament. But I do think they're stumbling into something, and they will be very hard to beat. This game, I just find the game impossible to call. Portugal have been good going forward. Like they have scored, I think they scored 4-2 with 8 goals in the tournament in 3 games in the group of death, which is a good return. Obviously they have Ronaldo, who's tournament's top goal scorer with 5, and you can never write off a team with him up against Lukaku. So I just find it impossible to call. I think both teams will score, and then you're like, that's it really. I couldn't give you a definite answer on who will win the game.
So we'll push this one, possibly, because again, I like Belgium in this game, but not a lot. I also like any low scoring draw, 1-1 maybe, something like that. But I'm not happy to have any prediction on this one, to be honest. I think Belgium will scrape it or a draw. So we leave this one off?
Yeah, fire ahead there. You can move on to the next one on Monday.
We're talking Croatia and Spain, and they're playing in the Parken in Denmark.
That's right, yeah. Spain. Where to begin with Spain?
You like the tournament? Do you still like them?
I still do like them, funnily enough, even though they haven't been great. I just think that the reason I like them mostly is that they are going to be very hard to beat. They just keep the ball so well that it doesn't matter who they're playing, they're going to have the ball. And as long as they have the ball, they can't concede. They just, like, the other side of it is they're going to struggle to break down teams because they have no goal score. And that has been evident. Like, they couldn't break down Sweden. They scored 1 against Poland where they had numerous chances. And then, obviously, they scored 5 against Slovakia, but that played into their hands with Slovakia chasing the game. They're the sort of team that if they do get ahead of you, it's going to be very hard to get them back because of the fact they have the ball and you're more open at the back. They do create enough chances. And like when you're not, like they do face a lot of the time, similar to Man City, when Man City play teams park the bus, and this happens a lot to Spain. I'm still keen on them, just for the fact that I think they'll be very hard to beat. Croatia will make it very difficult for them. They'll sit back, they'll soak up the pressure. But they have leaked a few goals, Croatia, throughout the tournament, and it's hard to know. It could easily be a draw.
In that case, are you going Croatia double chance, 5-4?
I don't know, to be honest, what I'm doing. What I would do here is a corner bet. Spain have conceded 2 corners in the whole tournament. They've had 20. So I'd be very keen on Spain and corner bets. I just think they'll have all the ball and they'll rack up the corners. They play wide a lot, trying to get low crosses into the box. Like they've had 20 corners in 3 games, which is average of nearly 7, and they've conceded 2. So if I'm getting 3 or 4 on the corner handicap, that's probably what I would go for. That doesn't come out until the day of a match, so I have no odds on that at the moment. But yeah, I wouldn't be confident enough to select Croatia double chance, whereas I also wouldn't be confident enough to select Spain to win the game in 90 minutes. So yeah, that's where I'd be with it. I still like Spain. I sound very contradictory here, but I just think that they're going to be very hard to put out of the tournament. Whereas they will struggle to win games, teams will struggle to beat them, is what I'm trying to say. I'll let you give your opinion on it now.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the theme of our podcast, but Croatia have fallen into their best team after Rebic absolutely was awful against England, squandered a few half chances. He's been dropped for Vlasic, and that's really worked out well for them in the next 2 games. Perisic has also been excellent in the last 2 games, scoring twice. And their midfield now with Perisic, they also dropped Brozovic, which was really just sort of a masterstroke. But again, they fell into it. They dropped him for the Czech Republic game, which helped them an awful lot. I thought they were the better team in that game. They just played Kovacic and Modric in the middle, and they brought in Brecalo as a winger, which I thought worked okay. But the main thing for me is Kovacic is carrying the ball through the middle, and Modric still being the best centre midfielder on the planet, even though he's 35. If a loss will bring Modric to retire probably from international football, you'd imagine, and that'll just be a sad day for international football, because even as an old man, he's unbelievable. I remember in the England game, he was hiding in the shadows for a lot of the game because it was a hot day in Wembley. So he was kind of, he was stepping into the shadows when there was if he lost the ball on the break, he'd just stop and he wouldn't run back because he just knew he needed to sort of save himself for the whole tournament, and a loss in that game. He was outstanding against Scotland. I think Spain are going to win this game, but it could be tight. Let's move on to the next one. So Monday evening, we have France and Switzerland. Bit of a derby.
Yeah. I'll let you take away this one.
Yeah, no problem at all. Switzerland, before the tournament, we kind of announced how we were underrating them. I thought they'd beat Wales handily enough, and I thought they'd struggle against Turkey, who were my big mistake. But Switzerland have looked really, really excellent against Wales. Couldn't finish the chances. They lack quality up front. I was going to say I was wrong on Breland Bolo. I said he was an absolutely useless striker, but no, I stick to everything that I said. He played 1 good game, and that means nothing to me. He's still a sort of 4 or 5 goal a year striker in 30 games, so that's what he is. Just because he played a good game doesn't mean I was wrong in general. So I'm not taking that. They were hammered off the pitch against Italy, which I was really surprised at, because I thought their midfield would match up pretty well against Italy, because they're very, very strong in there with Xhaka, Freuler, and So coming off the bench, as well as Zakaria, but Italy beat them off the park. Maybe they'll lack quality against this French team. Dembele's injury, Hernandez's injury, and Digne out for France probably won't make too much of a difference. They'll bring in Koundé instead of Hernandez. The other 2 wouldn't start anyway. I think this is going to be low-scoring, tight game. France 1-0, I would say. But I wouldn't be surprised if Switzerland brought them to extra time.
Yeah, I think that Switzerland are very good defensively. Now, they didn't show that against Italy. But over the last few years, they've been, especially against the bigger teams, they do defend well, and they traditionally do as well. And the one thing I have with France is France are a brilliant, brilliant side. Let's face it, they're world champions. But they're better when they soak up the pressure and hit you on the counter-attack. We saw this last week when they played Hungary. Hungary scored first against them, and they're made as a counter-attack inside France. That's the way they play. Whether it's right or wrong, it's not for me to say. It's won them a world championship. Personally, I think I'd prefer to see them attack more. But it doesn't suit them when they play teams that sit off them. They're very good at soaking up pressure. Now, Switzerland will sit off them, which will make it difficult for France. Excuse me. We also have the fact that Mbappe still has to score in this tournament. So at some stage, he's going to explode. He's been close on a few occasions, especially in the Germany game, where he had won 2 disallowed for offside, I think. But you'd expect France's quality to see them through. You'd think they'll break them down eventually. I like the France to win by 1 goal at 11-5, whether it's 1-0 or 2-1 or whatever way you want to look at it. So yeah, that'll be where I am with this game. I think Switzerland have been good. Shaqiri has, as usual, has just turned up for them in a big tournament. He seems to do this every single tournament. I think he's 3 goals scored. He scored 2 screamers last week against Turkey. That left foot is just a wand, and he just seems, when he wants to, he seems to be able to turn it on. So he will be a danger. France to be well aware of him. But yeah, you'd have to expect France to pull through, wouldn't
I won't be betting on this game. I do quite like your France by 1 goal, because if they're going to win, I think that's going to be the case. But I think this is going to be very tight. I don't think Deschamps is a great coach. I think they, in a sort of Solskjaer at United-esque way, he puts what he thinks is his best team on the pitch and just lets them off. They don't really have a system of playing. They rely on counter-attack and quality from Griezmann and Mbappe, and the skills of Pogba to create in the midfield, and then Kante to be Kante. And then, because they've such a superstar team, I think they get away with it a lot. But I think Switzerland will cause them trouble here in the derby, and them to win by 1. Let's take that and move on.
Just one more thing on the France and Switzerland game. I do think that if France do break them down early, Switzerland will be in trouble, similar to the Italian game where Italy broke them down early. And if France do score an early goal, Switzerland will be in serious trouble, because they'll have to go after France, and that's where the counter-attacking play will come into play.
Yeah, as well, to add to that, I was super impressed with France's buy-in. Like, their pressing against Germany and Portugal was really good from Mbappe and Griezmann. So they've all bought in. They're a really tightly knit squad who've won together before. So there's a lot of positives for France. If you have France, I know a lot of people would back them from the start of the tournament. So yeah, a lot of positives for France. I think they'll scrape through against Switzerland, and then, yeah, they still. I'm going to stick to my article on Lunchtime. France semi-finalists will be about the end of them. England and Germany, our last day, Tuesday the 29th. A word on. Do you want to start on maybe England and I'll take Germany?
Yeah, A1. I have not been impressed with England. No, they've done all that's been asked of them. They haven't conceded a goal. They drew with Scotland, and they beat Czech and Croatia 1-0 both times. They've had 7 shots on target in 3 games. The one thing about them is they might be stumbling upon their best team as the tournament is going on, with Grealish coming into the team, and they brought on Henderson the last night early enough for Rice. Maguire is back. So yeah, they might be stumbling upon their best team. I don't know what to think of this game. 2 teams I just can't get my finger on. And it's going to be a watch and brief for me, to be honest. Southgate, I don't trust him as a manager. He's liable to do anything. I think it's the hardest game. It's the one game I wouldn't touch with a bet. The bookies can't separate them either. So yeah, if I was to have a bet in it, I'd go for Germany to win on penalties. The usual sort of England-Germany thing. I think they've gone out of tournaments 4 times on penalties to Germany, and it wouldn't surprise me if it happened again. If it did go the distance, and it was going to penalties. The mindset of both sides alone, Germany just don't lose on penalties. England, I know they got rid of their penalty shootout demons at the last World Cup when they beat Colombia, but it's a different mindset altogether when you play Germany, who are just it's the usual thing in our lifetime is that Germany knock England out on penalties, and it wouldn't surprise me. It's 9-1. It wouldn't surprise me if this game went the distance again. And it's just too tight to call for me. So I'll let you give your opinion on it.
That would be hilariously brilliant. If Germany, can you imagine the looks on the players' faces and what they're feeling if they're going into penalties with the Germans again? But England so far, exactly what we expected, basically. Really inept management from Southgate, not able to leverage the unbelievable attacking talent he has on the team. Bringing all his right backs, playing Trippier as a left back, played very well, then decided to drop him for Shaw, who played badly. Then Shaw kept his spot. Really, really strange stuff from Southgate, but nothing unexpected. The bookies can't really separate them here. There's a bet that I love in this game. Germany to win or draw. England not to score in the first half and under 3.5 goals in the game, 5-4. I absolutely love that. England really, really struggle because they don't really have, they don't know their best team, and they don't know that they don't have a style of play at all. It's just kind of PE teacher throwing the ball and every man for himself. So I think, but are Germany a good team? Because against Portugal, they looked absolutely frantic, high-paced German football, rock and roll, Jurgen Klopp stuff. Against France, they were okay. Really struggled to create chances against a much better defence. Portugal conceded. Portugal, it was very un-Portuguese the way they played. Usually they're rock solid at the back, but they were wide as a gate open. My bet for this game, though, is going to be Robin Gosens to have a shot on target, 8-5. He's had 8 shots in his last 6 games on target. He was absolutely unbelievable against Portugal, where he had a goal disallowed, he scored one, and he had an assist. He got 3 shots on target. So Robin Gosens to get a shot on target against this England team. I don't know what's going to happen in this game. Germany are not very good. They have an average coach. England are quite good. They have a better side with a bad coach. I don't know. Who knows? Let's go for the penalties as well. But again, just to everybody out there, we'll write up our Mr. Lunchtime's tips and mine on hunchtime.com. So check it out for all our tips if this rambling is confusing you. The final game of the last 16, the Swedes against Ukraine. Ukraine, you were very hot on before the tournament. Sweden have kind of been what we expected, I think.
Exactly. You've summed it up perfectly there. I predicted before the tournament that Ukraine at 9-2, I think it was, would reach the quarterfinals. Now, if you told me before the tournament that they would be playing Sweden in the last 16 game to get there, I'd have said, yeah, definitely. But I am not. I watched them play Austria last week, and I literally was in turmoil watching them. I thought they were horrendous. They couldn't string 2 passes together. They just seemed to be a team just running out of ideas. Once they went behind, they didn't know what to do. They made Austria look like prime Brazil. So I wouldn't be confident that that prediction will still come in. I think Sweden will beat them. Sweden have been decent. They defend very, very, very well, as we've seen against Spain. They're good on the counter-attack. They beat Poland during the week 3-2. They were 2-0 up now, and Poland did come back to get level. But as soon as Poland got level, they went up the pitch and scored a third to win the game. And the other game in the group, they beat Slovakia 1-0 with a late penalty. But in reality, it was one of them games where they could have won 2-3-0 sort of thing. They've been impressive. They're just one of these teams, Sweden. They turn up these tournaments and they just know how to get out of groups. Very hard to beat. Similar to Switzerland. There's a few sort of them sort of teams. You have your Wales, your Denmark, your Switzerland, your Swedens. They constantly turn up at these tournaments, and this is the way they do it. They're very hard to break down. I don't think Ukraine are good at the back at all. I think they're a bit of a shambles, in fact. And I'd be very surprised if Sweden didn't beat them, to be honest. And that would be my opinion on the game. I'm giving up on the Ukraine. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, I'm not quite giving up on the Ukraine yet. I think this is going to be a very, very, very tight game. Two teams of reasonably sort of equal level. Sweden might have a trump card in Forsberg. Called it before the tournament, how good he's been. We might see the best of Isaac yet, the young striker, who could get a move from Sociedad after this tournament. Really, really impressed with him in La Liga. But Forsberg has been fantastic. 4 goals in his last 4 games for Sweden. 7-2. Him to score anytime is my bet in this game. And we'll put up Ivan Acume, which you can do, 45-1 on hunchtime.com. We'll put up our bets. We'll go to battle, myself and yourself, Mr. Lunchtime. We'll see who gets the most right. Thanks to everybody for listening again. Please like and subscribe.